Well, it says I'm live anyway, so I don't know. So I am down in Tampa, Florida right now, waiting for a flight back to and got to meet some really good people and was there for the swearing in for the new president for the American Veterans for Equal Rights. So we'll be sending out a press release in conjunction with them to announce that they have a new president that will be Penn Baker. If you're not familiar with Penn, they're from over in New Mexico, even than what we had before with Ever and TDVA and between us and them. So if you don't know who this is, it's Cassandra Williams and the executive. And it's been a really interesting weekend. I did a podcast early this morning with a young man who was, I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but anyway, and the impact that's going to have on just about every American in this country. But anyway, so right now, I know it's kind of noisy around here. You may have a hard time hearing me if you're listening in. I'll have to learn, and it's kind of lagging a little bit too. So just bear with me as I kind of get this thing up and running. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on here. I do have to sit here. Yeah, hanging out. It's kind of really noisy in here. I know Sarah called just a little bit ago and wanted to check. It was so noisy we couldn't hear a thing. I think we're going to call back later after I get back to Birmingham tonight. Then I'll call her and see what it was she needs to talk about. So anyway, it's going to be a good thing. I think everything's rolling since that we have established now with American Veterans for Equal Rights. It's going to go really well. And with their new president and vice president and their, I believe it's secretary that they all voted on over that Sunday, yesterday. So yeah, we were able to be there and participate in it. And one of our co, and she's just phenomenal and very funny, and really enjoyed talking with her and watching her and I. She's just, oh wow, you should. So we're trying to make a stronger relationship between the three of us, big organizations. You know, AVRA's been around since 1990. Even more than that, all of us have been involved in this kind of activism and kind of helping our veterans and stuff like that for a long time. Far long. No, we've been around for a long time. I mean, literally thousands and thousands of years. It's just, you know, nowadays even know who we are. Right. I flew into Tampa from Fort Lauderdale just a little bit ago, and so you know it's been good. And so those of you who diagram all of the stuff back in the back, I'll try to get closer, but next time I'll have a system that actually works better for this. Anyone watching from any of our social media, Twitter, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, you can comment over in the block on the side if you'd like. I don't always know who's there because it doesn't always show up. Count them with a little message, text, whatever you want to do, and we can chat for a second. But the big thing, like I've been talking about for the past I'm on say 3 weeks now, it would be Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. That's the most horrifying thing that has ever been put out there right now in terms of what's. And if you don't know the history, the Heritage Foundation was founded back in the 1970s, mid 70s. The first thing they did was they gave President Reagan this thing that was all the funding that this current version has, which I'll mention in a minute. It doesn't have all that. It didn't have all that. But even so, the first 100 to 180 days. And so, but they count that as a failure because they really wanted to get closer to 100% occupancy. However, this new iteration for 2025, it's the worst thing you've ever seen coming. They actually have a strategic plan, training academies, they're vetting and testing and making sure that they have personnel ready to step into the entire executive leadership of the U.S. government. And you think Florida's ban on books and stuff is bad down in here, or some of these other states where they have book bans? You haven't seen a thing yet. Just wait till if a conservative wins the presidency in 2025, guess what's going to happen? Nearly every one of those 80 agreed to do this plan. They put $22 million into making sure this thing works. $22 million have been set aside for that project. They got 70, well, right now, nations around the country all backing it. Literally hundreds of people actually contributing to this document. They started it in 20. I mean, this is so well organized. The blueprint that they've got there, the outline, the structure of this, it's one of the most thought out, most well foundation, Dr. Kevin Roberts, in his forward to that document. It's 920 pages long. You don't even have to read the whole thing. You read the first 17 pages and get exactly what they want to do. It's stated clearly. So what they're going to do, this is what they want in place where they can actually do something and make this come about. And if they take the presidency in November of 2025, 20th, when that person says, "So help me God," they will have in place, they will have trained, their goal is to train at least 20,000 people what they want to accomplish in every agency and department across the federal enterprise. And if that doesn't really scare the crap about it, we want to ban books, or different states, they're actually banning books, or they're ostracizing people because they don't like who they are, or they don't look like them, sound like them, act like them, whatever. Well, this document, it turns it into a federal thing. Their first goal when a new president goes in, they'll activate this thing that's called Schedule F. Schedule F is a document that President Trump had put in place, but that was not continued under President Biden. Schedule F makes senior leaders within the executive branch of the U.S. government at-will employees, which means they can be fired at will too. Fired at will, and that has to be done first. The second thing they would do would go in and remove all duty transgender people from the U.S. It's an asinine, stupid thing to do. They spent $40 million training that person, and she's a darn good F-18 pilot, as well as a leader. And we've got so many others in the U.S. Navy. They're in every branch of the service. We are in every branch of the service doing exceptional work, and it would be just stupid for them to do it if that's what they want to do. If you don't ever seen anything like this, in the first couple of paragraphs in the foreword that Dr. Roberts wrote, he says, we're going to delete, erase, and exit every rule, policy, regulation, piece of anything across the whole government, including grants. And I say that for a reason: gender identity, SOGI stuff. SOGI. They want to remove diversity, equity, inclusion. Those words from the whole of the federal enterprise. They want abortion, and they want to remove all those words, just the words, from ever being used in the whole government. If they walk in there with these people trained and vetted, and no government, and remove it, that have those words in it, like bodily autonomy, freedom of choice, everything, and they're serious. They put 20 book and check project2025.org. That's a project by the Heritage Foundation. They have poured their heart and soul into the House or the Senate, because a lot of these policies and rules you could change just by action within those agencies and departments. Sometimes it may require them to go. You'll never see it because it's in a policy or a rule somewhere that has those words in it: sexual orientation, gender identity, whatever. Doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So anyway, that's what they're trying to do. And they've stated clearly in that forward that's exactly how they want to do it. Now, why is it important? They're taking out Grant has an office that conducts research into the social determinants of health for sexual orientation, gender identity people. And there's a lot of people out here in this country who don't think that think that that's what we should be spending money on. You know why? Because they don't think it's an issue. However, any scientist of us worth his weight in salt, whatever, worth his weight in water, whatever you want to put out, from racial demographic to sexual orientation to gender identity, there are social determinants of health that determine the quality of their life and well-being and the health they receive. And we've known it for decades. We've looked at it. We've studied it. We know. I've been on the research teams at the University of Alabama doing some stuff like this. There's social determinants of health that do have a negative impact on well-being of these communities. But it doesn't come from the community, and that's how it is. We know that. But yet, if you remove those words from the whole of the federal government, then you can't do the research to find it, and you can't search that. And basically, what it would do is it will encode into those regulations and policies or whatever. The biased views that don't anymore. It's like for years and years and years they would not study anything to do with gun violence. They never even looked at that. Why? Because telling people that we don't want to study if the increase in violence associated with weapons and guns specifically. For the longest time, he wouldn't do it. Several years, I think. You can actually see the statistics and see what that's all about. We know that. We know the impact now. a little bit better. Industry is so large. But anyway, it's just like whoever's got the money, they're the ones doing things. Project 2025, they set $22 million aside for this one. Here's the catch. After they list all those words, the very next thing they say is after a comma. Put a comma at the end of all that, and they go, and any other thing that might offend the First Amendment rights who are identified with all those labels aren't Americans. I mean, that's what they just said in that sentence. And that's one of the paragraphs, the very first. I mean, got such a long history and so well respected in the conservative community that they're able to do this kind of stuff and get away with it. Go look in Project 2025 yourself. Go look it up, project2025.org. Check it out. Read it for yourself. This is real. This is no of the White House will cease to exist within the federal enterprise. They'll take out all the words that identify. Where I get my care at they'll remove, because you don't want any words that have to do with diversity, equity, inclusion. They'll remove the Center for Minority Veterans, the Center for Women veterans, and they'll remove any Office T veterans. I don't want to hear those words. It's as if they're so thin-skinned that you could just walk over and go poof, and they just turn into dust. Or I don't know what it is. I mean, encoding this, they're going to train people to go seek it out and destroy it in a whole government. If you don't believe it, check it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. It's a Heritage Foundation website. They actually own it. And go there and check it out. But don't buy the darn book. They've got $22 million already. We've given them enough money. Button. Go check it out. Go read it yourself. You tell me what you think about it. I mean, go right in there. I mean, go read that forward. Dr. Robert. And they just say it so plainly what they want to do and what they believe. For instance, you know how they over all the years, over decades and decades, really, probably about 3 decades, pornography and child molestation and all this kind of stuff, and called groomers and everything. Well, they figured out that one wasn't grabbing anyone's attention, so they shifted it now, because it's not based in any reality. No science backs it up. No numbers back that kind of crap up, and everybody knows that. But he who controls the narrative is the one who gets to say it first and gets to shout it the loudest. And that's what's happened. And that's exactly what they've done within this document. And then they go on to say that this is an ideology, that I'm an ideology as a transgender person, transgender veteran. Hell no, I'm not an ideology. Here's what an ideology is. An ideology is being, republicanism, conservatism, liberalism, let me see, labor, if you're over in Europe or whatever, any of those things like that. It's an ism or an ideology of some kind where you actually think through this process. It's not who you are, it's what you believe. And they're trying to say that who I am is an ideology. I'm middle of the road, kind of all leaning over to the left in a lot of things. Absolutely. I get it. I understand that. I'm more of a classical liberal person, but not who I am, not what I am in terms of who I am as a person. Okay, there's a distinction there. It's subtle, which they apparently haven't grasped yet. So that's where we are at this point, trying to get them to see that. Because what they do that these people aren't worthy of protection by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And I tell you what, all of us who are veterans serve this state, but you're not entitled to impose bullshit on the rest of us. And that's what this is. So, they tell us that this is just people to identify those who believe like them. Those are the real people. And I'm using real people because that's italicized. That's how they do it. It's not us. They chose those two words to put them together. Unnatural people. I mean, those two words are side by side. So what they're doing is they're trying to classify out of the existence all of us who are not like. It's just like, my gosh, if you don't believe like me, well, you're not going to be like us. We're not going to call you one of us, and that's crazy. I mean, I just came from this conference this weekend with the American Veterans for Equal Rights. I would mention this, and you know what the surprising thing is? No one had heard of it. No one had heard of this document. That was my ask for yourself, and you tell me if I'm wrong in interpreting what they wrote, because they wrote those words. Those are the words about eliminating and erasing and crap. I mean, that's, and then to say that we're not protected by the Constitution. That's the most thing I've ever seen. If you think what they're doing with banning books is bad, wait till they get into these regulations and rules in the federal government and erase every bit of that. You think, I mean, that to removing from the whole of federal enterprise our right to exist and the words that define us in that federal enterprise. And every rule and policy. Believe it? Read it yourself. Go check out those first couple of paragraphs. If you agree with that shit, you and I need to have a really good conversation, because I mean, Americans, they have a right to believe that. If you're a veteran, you serve for that. If you're active duty military, you are serving for that right, for them to say and believe what they want. I don't want to hear those people aren't American. They are. They have every right to believe what they want. And that's what we will defend, always. So we have biased, bigotry, anti-American language stuff and all that crap, because that is not who we are, right? We served in this country. We serve for our nation. We serve for our families under the Constitution, and that is a full stop sentence. That is said very emphatically that that's what they intend to do. But there's one part right after that. I mean, all these people who are like that, all those people who are pushing gender identity and sexual orientation and diversity and equity and inclusion and stuff like that, those are the words they want to remove. You're any other race in the country, or you have a different minority perspective, or your intersectional identities, or all these different things, they will remove the language that identifies you across the whole of the federal government. You give them a chance to get in the White House, it'll be done in the first 100 days or less. And that's just horrifying to me that they would do that. They want to do that to the people to other Americans. You've got to be kidding me. I just don't get that. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But I do know this, that if we don't raise awareness of this, if we don't go around and tell people, this is what some other Americans want to do to this other group of Americans, and they are serious. They're putting their money where their mouth is. I mean, let me tell you about this. Heritage Foundation at the end of the year last year had $265 million left over when they filed their 990 with the IRS. $265 million. That was at the end of 2022, fiscal year 2022. Well, probably calendar year for them. That was the end of the year. And between all those 75 organizations and everyone else, they've all put the money together and all this, and it's $22 million to stand up their presidential academies. I mean, I could share the screen with you. They are going to do this. They'll stand up. As a matter of fact, they already started telling people about it back in the summer of this year. They were at the Iowa State Fair and actually asked people to get involved. So what they're looking for are to be identified. You've got to be kidding me. Really? How many people actually do? It could be the same people. I don't know. But we'll see. If I want to take the time here, I'm actually sitting in the Tampa airport right now. Just from American Veterans for Equal Rights. We just came from over there. And the big thing, by the way, I'll just say this again, big announcement from there is that they elected a new president, vice president. Professional president forever. She and I have been connected for a little while now. I haven't met her in person. I hope to go out to New Mexico sometime and I get to meet her, which is the active duty military side for transgender people. She's president of that group, Commander Schilling, active duty Navy. So we've got all these people, all these of our people. But the thing is, not just us. It's every American in this country is threatened by what Heritage is doing. But the stunning part is that so few people haven't even, I mean, obviously they haven't heard of it, they haven't even read it. As a matter of fact, the mayor was there last night. We had at the American Legion let us ever have their evening dinner there for to speak with him. And he's a gay man, very out gay man, governor or the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I asked him if he told him what he needed to go check this out. Can you go check this thing out? And I know they probably think I'm some kind of overly dramatic transgender veteran woman or something or other. But right now this is frightening for all Americans. Not this in some way. They have family members that will be influenced, or they will be influenced, or someone they know will be impacted by the horrors that's contained within the mandate for leadership. The teams on the conservative side, you will recognize them. You go read through that document in the first 17 pages or so. It lists them all in there. It tells you who they are. I mean, it gives you the organization. And here we are pretending that this fight is just about, hey, books down here in Florida, or bathrooms down here in Florida, or something else like that. Public sphere out here in the media world, on the left and the right. I mean, just on the right primarily, but the ramped up media stuff that's been going on. If you look across the whole thing, you begin to see controlling the narrative has their hand on the narrative. Because you see the presidential candidates all ramp up their attacks against trans people. And you see Washington Examiner and other conservative publications, Christopher Rufo, and all these other so-called academics. I've tried to call Christopher Rufo out on it, but I'm just a gnat compared to what the money they've got for all this stuff. So anyway, that's what's going on. And, and they want to turn America into what Matt Walsh calls himself. Matt Walsh is another one of those people who actually come out there. Matt, I have to give Matt Walsh credit. Others who actually fit the same description that Matt Walsh is going through. I mean, it's all there. But if you go on Matt Walsh's Twitter feed and his profile, he tells you the first two words you find in Matt Walsh's Twitter profile, if he hasn't taken it down yet. I mean, I started posting about it last week. Walsh has. So here we are stuck with some bunch of organizations and people who are actually theocratic fascists, and they fit every. As a matter of fact, in 2000. What he did was he looked at fascist organizations that have been around for whatever, like Pinochet and Mussolini and Hitler, different ones. It's around the world. How difficult he is. Now, you can go down through there and find that either the left or the right, I don't care if the stuff comes to the left or the right, it does not. 14 characteristics. Matt Walsh sees that and actually has agreed to that because that's who he is. He can tell you that's who he is. Democratic fascist. So the rest of the like company, even though that's the truth, Matt doesn't care. So I applaud Matt Walsh. So let me go see the comment section over here. Well, somebody's just been an idiot. I hate you. But the other people commenting over on Twitch, well, bonjour, Butte. Yeah, well, I can read that. All right. DRI, whoever you are. I don't know. There's been a lot of comments. I think C2DRI on Twitch actually made all those comments and apparently you're from France, right? You could be from Quebec, though. Who knows? Or French Guinea. Here as well. So thank you everyone for watching and participating. It's been really the biggest challenge. That is the biggest challenge that we face, is raising awareness and raise their right hand on January the 20th at noon Eastern. On January 20th. They will implement. Candidates already know about it. They got the money to make it happen. If you don't think that's real, they tried it once back in 1980. They got 60% of their. They were able to do 60% of it in 1980. If you think 2025 is going to just slide by and this isn't going to affect you need to get your head out of the sand because you are way down there in it. Okay. Anyway, so it's been fun. It's been wild. I'm looking forward to getting back home to Alabama. Now I don't know how that occurred. Well, I know how it occurred actually, but I don't know how much I'm supposed to be getting on a monthly basis. But they did send me a big big check, my checking account Saturday Saturday evening while I was flying from Birmingham to Fort Lauderdale, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that those first numbers, I'm going, what the hell? So anyway, apparently they approved my rating for benefits. Yeah, it was a PTSD as a result of military sexual trauma. It's one of the toughest things in the world to talk about, but if I don't talk about it, then there's going to be other people about theirs as well. And I'm a police call, so you can call the crisis hotline 988 and option 1 for veterans, and just hang on the line to help you need. You can also call into our office, maybe, since I'm primarily on the road right now. You can call in it's a DC phone number, 202-996-4731. Call into the office and check it out, or leave a message or whatever. And if someone doesn't get back to you pretty quick, yeah, here we go. You can also go across to that website you see on the bottom of the image there on your screen. Sorry for the noise, it's been pretty noisy. This is really active, apparently. There's a lot of people here coming and going. It's just constant. So anyway, that's the first, and it was interesting. Got to meet some really good people last year down here. I'm looking forward to meeting more of our veterans across the country as we roll out a lot of different things. To meet many of you out there, and at that time it was on behalf of Tampa, though not the organization I'm in now, but another good organization. And right now we don't need. There was talk at our conference this weekend of trying to consolidate some things, but the reason why we don't want to do that, and this is a good reason, we have to do that. So we have to maintain that, but still kind of work in collaboration and get a narrative out there, get control of the narrative. And in order to do that, it's going to take a whole hell of a lot of money. It's not cheap to try or anywhere really. But I will tell you this: I'm going to switch hats now. I'm going to put on my other hat for the C3, the charity, all that kind of thing on that side. But I do want to mention something here, and we're getting ready to do something pretty soon. Our chairwoman of the board on the C3 side, she's going to after we get back home, and then we'll find out some more details on that and how to progress from there. So there's big things right now. Anyone watching this right now, call to action that I have for you is go read Project 20, because in that they lay out how serious this is for them. That's where the forward is written. That's where Dr. Roberts wrote his comments, the president of the Heritage Foundation. I mean, it's document, though, breaks it down by agency. I mean, it gives detailed, specific rules and what they want to accomplish and what the expectations are. Single one of them. And as I mentioned, they were able to accomplish 60% of it within 100 to 180 days back in 1980. That's what they say. and that's the ditch. Fell over into it head first. Oh my God. Have they ever? Project2025.org, check it out. And then tell a friend about it. Tell two friends and ask them to do the same thing. And then ask them also whether or not the whole of the federal government, any word that references anything that's not cishet whites and theocratic in some way. So with that, I'm going to shut this down. I don't know how long I've been talking on here. I think my timer is 41. With Aver. James, by the way, I'm not going to give James his last name, but James has been with Aver for 33 years. Been one that happened with American Veterans for Equal Rights for 33 years. Now, just imagine, just think for a second. Here's what you hear in the media. All these people just suddenly show. James has been fighting for us for 33 years. We've been around. I mean, Christopher Rufo. And I'm in mid 30s, probably something like that. Who is actually one of those. He recently was put on I guess is a teaching role with Hillsdale College, is the one putting out all this literature that's being picked up by Ron DeSantis down here in Florida to be the educational guide for schools in Florida. Well, Hillsdale College to actually say that, like Matt Walsh does, but Christopher Rufo about stuff from them. So Christopher Rufo put something about, I don't know, in the image of or it was like something transgender empire. Wow. Over the years, over these years, I've been called transgender army, the transgender army. And that wouldn't be true. Being called, and now Rufo's calling us the transgender empire. And I find that to be really humorous because it's series Foundation Trilogy, and actually it's 4 books, Foundation Trilogy. If you know that story, you know that foundation or the empire was around 10 under different names. I mean, we were with the Assyrians. You can find references to people like us from the Assyrians, from every culture on earth. We've been there. For thousands now, or where you can actually see us is because of the social media atmosphere and the climate we live in, not the climate in terms of weather or anything like that, but the technology, the numbers, people say it's on the rise. No, it's not on the rise. Every population on Earth has about the same identified in some way as trans. And that doesn't apply just to today. That applies to yesterday and 10 years prior to that, 100 years prior to that. Several good organizations that have actually looked into it, and they said it's about 0.6%. That's the Williams Institute out of California. But that was an estimate, but I do know that the number was 0.6%. But then here's the funniest part about that. The actual proof of that, at least qualifying Some the Million Veteran Program with the VA put out had a study that was published. Million Veteran Program does a genetic assay or looking at the distributed genetic data along with some self-report surveys to the VA, so we can start getting better health care. Okay. Science matters. What we keep hearing. But anyway, it's like, here's the funniest part about it. They did a quality assessment of that 480 some thousand, January the 7th of 2020. By the time they cleaned up the data and got it down or moved duplicates and, some errors in there that were there, then they were able to get that number down to 456,000. So out of 456,000 genetic records that the Million Veteran Program accumulated, the Veteran Program sends out self-report surveys. I get them. I'm in the program, and that they ask questions. They ask questions like, what's your and this is your gender, how do you identify, and stuff like that. Well, for one thing, if the Heritage Foundation gets their hands on all this in January, the VA won't be able to ask you those questions either at intake like they do now. So you can forget about that. But that study, though, what they found was about 25 records, 2,500 of those records genetic sex, which is fine. We know our genetic sex. We know that. Here's the self-report surveys. They had reports being different. And 2,500 is about the number when you look at all the different reasons they pulled them out related to that. But you know that number is. Anyway, I've talked for another 6 minutes, 7 minutes already. Anyway, I'm ready to get off here. It's getting really noisy. Things probably never changed. And go read this thing, at least the first several pages of it. Check it out. It's a real and present danger to the entire country. Every person either directly or indirectly, it will impact them. And it will impact it in a negative way. So with that, I can get it. Hopefully it goes off. I don't know. Let me see. End the stream. We'll see if it goes away. Bye. There it is. Nope.